And I got to get to these other points. Point number 2, and this is it's kind of progressive, but number 2 is this. There's never a time when God's will is not best or not right for you. And that's important because to realize that, God's will is always best. Because I think some people have this idea that God's kind of an old-fashioned parent and He has these standards, and it was fine for people 100 years ago. They didn't really miss out on anything, but things have changed now, and we've got to adapt. You can't adapt truth. God is the ultimate parent, and He never gets behind. He's never out of style. He's never out of sync. He saw everything coming that's come, and He's laid out the path that we should walk, and He's given us very clear boundaries, and we need to realize that even if we don't understand it, we want our kids to do this. We tell them something, we make a rule, we give them an ultimatum, and they may not understand it, but we expect them to trust us and do it anyway because we're doing it for their best. And many parents don't give God the benefit of the doubt. If God is requiring you to do something or give up something, it's not to punish you or hurt you. It's because it's best for you. And there's not a time where God's will is not right. That means that there's no way to get in a situation and say, well, in this case, I don't think the Bible's actually applies here, or the Bible really true, or it kept up with societal evolution. And that's just not true. It's always best, and there's never a time when it's not best. It's never right for murder. Murder is never right. Stealing and being, a thief is never right. There are certain things in the Bible that are laid out in Scripture that are clear, and it's not hard to figure it out, but we have to realize these are not old-fashioned values. They're actually just based on truth and righteousness, and that never changes. So to realize that God's will is always right, and there's never a time when it's better to just skip the will of God and do it man's way, that never happens. God was smart enough to say this is how life works in every situation. And I can give you examples, and I may get hate mail for this, but that's fine. But I don't care how far society has gone, sex outside of marriage is wrong. It's not right to go live with someone to see if it's going to work out before you get married. And I know that's the common thinking today, but can I just say it again? God's will is always right. There's never a time when God's way is not the best way. And you may not understand it, and the common thought today may be totally opposite what I'm saying. But I can promise you, doing life God's way is always going to be best. Do you still love me? So, don't live with that person to try and see if it's going to work out. Keep your boundaries, do it God's way, and trust God to help you get into a relationship the right way and make it last. Number 3, we've got to move on. God's not trying to limit your joy or success by giving you boundaries. Yes, there are limitations for serving God and living in God's will. Yes, there are boundaries. But you know what? In every area of life, there are boundaries. It's not fair for us to just put this out there on God and think if He wants to limit my choices and my ability to make choices, if He wants to limit it to certain, it's not fair. God should just love me no matter what I do. And He actually does. But He wants us to make right choices. He does give us boundaries and limitations. But it's not to be a killjoy. He's not trying to ruin your life. He wants you to function and operate on a higher level. He wants you to be more blessed, not less blessed. Can you see that? When you drive down the highway, you stay inside the lines. You don't drive outside the lines to express your freedom and your individuality. You don't resent the state because they put lines on the highway. You like the lines because that shows you where the boundary is. That shows you where to go. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. In fact, when the fog rolls in and it gets hard to see, the thing you want more than anything is to see that line. I want to know where that line is. I want to know how close am I to that line. I want to stay on the inside of that line. I want that line. And we should be that way with God. We should want His boundaries. We should want to know, how do I live life? You know, He's the manufacturer. He created us. You know, if you bought a new car, it wouldn't be fair to you or the car for your car, and they could do this, for your sales team to say, you know what, you can do anything you want with this car and it's still going to work. You can drive it any way you want. You can put oil in the gas tank. You can put water in the oil tank. It doesn't matter what you do, this car is going to, that's just not true. Now, you may want to put water in the gas tank if gas keeps going up, and you can do that, and they're not going to stop you, but you know your car's not going to work right. You can drive it down the ditch bank to prove that you're free from the bondage of, you know, lines, and say, I'm not going to be bound by the laws of the state. I'm going to express my individuality and drive down the ditch. But if you do, you're probably going to hit something and destroy your car. You put water in the gas tank, you're going to destroy your car. And that's what's happening, is people are living life outside of God's commandments, outside of His will, and it's not going well. They're facing destruction and corruption, and things are not working out. And then some of these same people want to blame God for it. They want to say, God, why'd you let that happen? Well, He didn't let it happen. You drove down the ditch bank. He told you not to do that. He told you to live a certain way and to live within certain boundaries. And then when we live outside of them, we want immunity. And that's just not how it works. Rules were not put in force in order to keep you back, hold you back from experiencing what life's all about. That's not what rules are for. You have rules for your kids all the time, and you don't make your kids do what they do to keep them from being a well-experienced, happy human being. You're not just there to ruin their happiness. You want them to experience the best life has to offer.